This is my story. 1989, I just woke up from coma. Being in coma for 2 weeks from environmental toxins. That's my father, my hero there. That's in Dunedin Hospital. I contacted dengue hemorrhagic fever. I had a multi-system, multi-organ failure. My platelets were down and 96 units of platelets I received, and 96 people from Dunedin donated their blood. And I recall this very well because once I was well, I sat down and wrote thank you cards to all these 96 people. I was very, very sick. Once I got discharged from the hospital, I was just not myself. I was doing very crazy, insane things that at one point they decided to put me into the institution, and they were also talking about electric shock. I don't like that idea. But I did some of the very, very mean things to my family, my husband. I lost my job. I was not allowed to work because when I wrote my 3-hour psychometric test assessment, I failed. I hit my husband. I punched the holes in the walls in my house. My parents were sent away home. My in-laws came from India. And 5 hours before I woke up, they had actually decided they are going to pull my respiratory support and declare me dead. And my family was actually making funeral arrangements. When at 3 a.m. I woke up and made it to today. And now if any of your family members, you are in coma, you can actually hear. I could hear people talking around me. Some experience, even though I was in coma, I could recall nurses making comments and some family members talking. So what happened when I came home, because I was so bad and I lost the job that I was so passionate about. Now that's a big thing for me. My husband, he took my son, he was 5 months old at the time. He said, you are incapable of looking after your son, so I'm taking your son away. And while everybody was leaving, I went down on my knees on the floor. I held his feet. That's the trick that Indian women do. When nothing works, you hold on to the men's feet. And I said, I'm going to be good. He said, no, I don't believe you. And he left. And he took Hari with him. Few minutes later, he must have gone about not even out of Dunedin. He got an employment in Invercargill. I made another last call to him. I said, if you were planning this, why did you send my parents away? He said, first, I did not know that you are going to behave like this. Secondly, nobody's going to stay with you if you behave like this. So, and he put the phone down. And I had the phone, I threw it up onto the wall, and it didn't even make a dent. I was so weak. I sat down on the floor, my knees to my chest, and rocked myself to sleep. Now, if somebody is rocking their heads, that's not a good sign, that's bad. Two things will eventuate. Either they are going to make it, break it, or they are going to lose themselves. And I did that, and finally I fell asleep. Next day I sulked. The following evening, after sulking for all day without eating, I decided it is not right. I have to do something. Somewhere in the darkest of my brain, a light bulb went on and a hope came, and my willpower awoke. And I said, I'm going to change everything. I'm going to get my son back, I'm going to get my job back, and I'm going to get my family back. I went to sleep that night. And when I woke up, the first thing I did was went to the Social Security office, stood in the line, and asked for money because I didn't have any money. And they looked at me, you are a doctor. Now nobody believes you are a doctor, you should have money, you shouldn't be standing in the Social Security office. So they said, go and bring the bank statements. So I walked all the way to the bank and got the bank statements for them, and I had only few dollars in my bank. So they gave me the money, they gave me some cash, they gave me some money to rent a place to live because I wasn't employed by the hospital, and they're not going to give me the hospital house. And I walked. I told my legs, please walk. I didn't have any physiotherapist, I didn't have any counselors. I was the counselor and I was the physiotherapist myself. I said, you must walk for me. And I walked, and I sat down for rest, and I walked, I sat down for rest, and I walked. Then I went to the hospital and met the medical director and said, you tell me what should I do to get my job back, to be able to work again. And he thought for a while and he said, okay, you come 4 hours every day, Monday to Friday, and you sit with the consultant and you do the observation for 4 weeks. And then we will review and we'll tell you whether you can work or not. And I did that. Now, if you look at the Q Center and imagine that that's on top of the hill, I had to walk all down the hill and then all the way from there to Robina Hospital and attend. And because I couldn't drive and I didn't have money for taxis, so I walked. And Dunedin is cold and windy. I walked in the morning, and on my way there is a small church. I would go and sit there and I would pray, and I would pray very hard. And I would say, God, if you have made me live again, then my life should be complete, not halfway. I want my son back, I want my parents back, I want my family back, and I want my job back. And I did that for 4 weeks. And at the end of the 4 weeks, the medical director said, okay, you good? You can get a job now, but it will be under supervision. So they wrote to the medical board, and I managed to get a job in Oamaru and under supervision. So I rang my husband and I said, I got a job, I want my son back. Because each time he would bring Hari to see me, and then they have to leave, Hari would just stick to me like a glue. And the separation was so difficult. And each time that happened, it gave me the strength to work harder and harder and harder. So all of you need some form of motivation if you need to change and do the impossible, and you can do it. So he brought Hari back, and I took Hari, didn't say anything, saw him off, and we caught a bus, went to Christchurch and then to Auckland, and from there I gave a call to him. I said, listen, I'm going to see my parents, I'm going to Fiji, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, don't report me to the family support services. And bang. And then we were in, that's Hari and myself. Look at myself, how bad I am. That's just after my discharge. And that's how Hari was. And that's Hari in Fiji. That's how we look after children in Fiji. That's the swing. And so we went home. My parents looked after me. I got my health back. We came back and we had, I started the work. And guess who comes back? My husband lost his job and he comes back. We take him back as well because it's good for the son. Sons should have their father. So he came home. And that's Hari giving me a kiss. Okay? Now all children must love your parents, must love your mother. Okay? And when all the storm is over and the whole everybody is happy, guess who arrives? The little princess. Isn't she beautiful?